What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel, the World Wide Web of Lending, and the podcast connected to the web with two B's. I say this every time because I'm a nerd, but I'm excited about this episode. This one's a little personal. This gentleman's sitting here. We have a pretty good history the last couple of years, but he's got some really cool local roots I want to share with you guys. And obviously, based on his attire, you got a hint at who he is and what we're going to talk about today. But we might have a couple things that surprise you. So welcome, Brad Dreyer. He is the head coach of the football program at Harford Tech, big name school. Anybody local knows how cool that school is. But before we get into the football, which I'm super excited about, let's talk about you, my man. So for anybody that doesn't know you, which is not that many people, because you're almost like a mayor in this area because you've been here for a while. For anybody that doesn't know you, man, what do they need to know about your story growing up that you think would be significant to say, oh, that's cool?
Well, I guess, man, I don't know. That's a tough one, actually. I would guess, I'm local. I grew up in this area.
Born and bred.
Yeah. I actually played football at Bel Air, where we, coach. And then actually went to Harford Tech, where I'm coaching now. Played football, wrestled, played baseball, and then...
Wait, you played baseball?
I did play baseball.
We known each other this long. I had no idea.
Yeah, I played baseball up until the curveball came a factor.
I'm the same thing.
Yeah, I couldn't really.
They made a movie about me. Can't handle the curve.
yeah, I couldn't hit the curve too, but I could hit the heck out of a fastball.
Yeah, me too.
But the curveball just was not my thing. So, and then I threw the baseball like a football, which really kind of hurt as well. That
I couldn't see the turn.
Yeah,
I couldn't see they're like, look at the stitching. I'm like, what are you talking about? I got great eyesight. I can't see it.
Yeah, when it leaves the pitcher's hand,
yeah.
I couldn't see it either. And then I think, now I wear contacts and stuff, and back then I didn't want to really wear the rec specs. So, stupid thinking back on it,
The technology was a little different.
Yeah, that's true. It might have been able to hit the curve. I could see the laces or whatever.
Go figure. Oh, that's cool. I see already. I didn't even know that already. We're learning stuff new. So keep going, man. I cut you off.
No, you're good. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what would make me interesting, I guess.
I think your dad's pretty interesting.
Well, that's true. So my dad, I guess I am kind of following in his footsteps to a point. He was my coach at Bel Air, and then he kind of came over to Tech, and I think he coached a year or two of football, but then he really, got into coaching wrestling, which he didn't actually do, which was pretty wild. But he didn't really coach the wrestling aspect of it, but man, he was unrivaled in the stat charts. So like he would stat all the lineups of the people we were going to wrestle, and then we would have the best matchups to try to beat that team, and really took that serious. So he coached wrestling primarily in high school for my duration. And then I think he coached a couple years after that.
I think a lot of people don't know until they're in that world that the team part of wrestling, because the layperson associates it with a one-on-one mat experience, which is obviously accurate, but the team part of it with the matchups, the weight classes, and as a team trying to win versus other teams, a lot of people just don't know that that's a thing. So that's cool you mentioned that, because that is not easy, and if you don't know what you're doing, wrong guy could be on the mat, great wrestler against the wrong guy.
Yeah, I would say wrestling is probably the most individualized team sport. If you do good out there, then your team's going to do good, right? But there is the team aspect of it where we might not be able to give up a pin, and you just pretty much fight not to get pinned if you're going to lose that match, So, and then the matchups are a big part of it, but I'm a huge fan of wrestling and strongly recommend that sport.
So you are following, like you said, in your dad's footsteps, because he took that football track and the wrestling track, and then for Harford Tech you had the same track, although it's a little different, obviously, with yours, but you kind of have those both as well. And it's just cool that your son wanted to do that, because you never know that when you have boys or girls, you never know what sports they're going to like. Yeah. Well, tell us about how many kids you have.
So we have 4 kids. Been married for 17 years.
That alone should be a resume builder, because it's just not easy with 4 kids to get from Monday to Sunday, man. It's crazy.
No, it's action-packed. There's been weekends where we literally live on the fields, and then the 3rd and 4th kid, grow up on the fields. So it's like, what are you doing this weekend? I mean, we're going back to the fields.
Tag along.
Yeah. And then, it really does take a village sometimes, especially during lacrosse season where you have 3 or 4 tournaments. There was one year where we had 4 kids going. And then they'd have 4 tournaments when they get to high school. Yeah, when they get to high school, it seems to get a little more easier.
Yeah.
On the weekends at least. But man, when they're all 4 running in like a club sport and you have 3 or 4 tournaments go at the same time and you need help, So.
And then during the week, you have a job.
Yes. And
so
then,
you and your wife are like, yeah, we're working, but also at 3:30,
You got to rush home, and then you get home, you hurry up and shovel something in your mouth, and then you run out to sports. Yeah.
I could not do what we do, and audience knows I have 4 kids as well, without a community. So 100%. It's true. And when I was younger, you hear that, like, hey, you're going to meet the neighborhood, and you're like, oh, it's cool, whatever, right? But you can't do it. There's only 2 parents.
Yeah.
And maybe one of those parents can't get off at the same time, So real quick, what do you do for a living, my friend?
So I am a general foreman for an electrical company named Power Solutions, part of the union, Local 24. I think it's a neat transition, honestly, in relations to coaching, right? When you are a general foreman, you are in charge of your crew. And so, certain guys or girls do things different and better than other individuals on your crew, right? And you got to kind of find that balance and where to kind of put people and put them in the right spot to give them the best chance to succeed.
Yeah.
And it's really a morale kind of thing too, right? If your morale's high on the job and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing as a general foreman, then everybody kind of follows, If you build people up, then people just want to naturally succeed, and who doesn't want to succeed? Yeah.
Is it fair to say that when you have that elevated position, you stop playing checkers and you have to start playing chess? Is that kind of fair to say?
I would think so. Yeah, I think that's a good term to use for that. Yeah, I like that
Move
term.
Pieces around and, think moves ahead.
Yes, right. And it's really not all about just somebody being good at what they do. It's really about how are they individually best managed. And managed is a weird word to use, I guess. But,
totally.
Interaction with them. How do you get your message across to somebody? For instance, you might handle something different than Joe Schmo over here, right? Like I might be able to motivate you by being some kind of positive reinforcement, and then Joe Schmo over here might need some kind of incentive. Or sometimes somebody might need a little, hey, what's going on? What's taking so long?
That's a direct translation into coaching, which we'll get into. But I literally, as you were answering that about your job, I'm thinking, well, that's just the same thing as coaching because it's with the children, and you got more sensitive people because they're tiny people, right? So
I would say the delivery changes. The delivery changes as it goes like this. Yeah,
and the reception of that delivery changes a lot.
It does. So you got to be more careful,
So go backwards a little bit. When's the first time that you became a coach of one of your children? Because it's 2026 now. Do you remember kind of, rewind with your kids, obviously, and go down, but your oldest is your daughter. So it's like, how long ago did you start? How long have you been coaching?
So I did not coach my oldest daughter. Okay. I did coach my oldest son. Okay. So when he was 5, now he's 15. So that was 10 years ago.
Okay, that's a decade.
Yeah, I started coaching him 10 years ago. But, I started coaching football and actually wrestling before that. I started coaching, I want to say 14 to 15 years ago. I got into Bel Air and wanted to kind of get my feet wet and learn how to coach. Because we did just have Brock, and I knew he was going to go through Bel Air. Yeah. And I wanted to kind of get, my knowledge built up. And so I started as an OC. And we actually won a championship with that team, which was really fun. It was neat to be a part of that, and I got to see them grow for the first 4 or 5 years from like 8U up to about 12U, which was neat. And I did see those guys kind of top out, and it's really neat. One of the kids that I helped out coaching with, Noah Brannick, he's a quarterback now at Delaware State.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so he's actually training.
Highest level.
Yeah, he's actually training my son a little bit, so it kind of comes full circle.
Forward, yeah.
Watching him now, who's a grown man, training my son, who's now taller than me too. It's
oh my gosh.
Yeah, time flies. You want it to slow down, but then it's exciting, right? It's going to happen one way or the other, so you might as well be excited about it.
So we'll talk about the evolution of you as a coach, soon. But I just want to talk about the effect on your family, right? Now we talked about your schedule and how it's like, oh yeah, it's all crazy, you got to go, husband and wife, blah 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 blah. But when you decided to coach, did you talk to your wife about it? Like, hey, there's something inside of me I kind of want to do. Was she supportive, or was she like, okay, let's start this ride? How'd that go? Do you remember that conversation? It was obviously a long time ago.
I do remember that conversation, actually. So I would say, I love my wife to death, right? She's amazing and huge in the support category.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it probably took a little convincing because I didn't have a kid on the team.
Yeah.
So...
That's a different dynamic.
It is. And we had 2 kids at the time, right? So when I'm like, hey, I'm going to go to Tucker Field and coach, and she's at home having dinner with our 2 kids. It's like, so there's sacrifice there, right? But she's amazing. I think really kind of came around and didn't say no, but just definitely, I guess, voiced her concerns about, not being at the house for that sports season. But then as we transitioned and Brock came through, I dropped back down to coach my son.
Yeah. Cycle back. Yep.
Yeah, cycle back. And now I think she loves it. I mean, there's times where I think she loves it as much as I do,
That's cool.
Obviously, this whole Harford Tech, football coach thing is the
opportunity.
Yeah, it was probably the biggest conversation we had. It's a lot more involved, but she really said, I know it's something you want to do. It's the next level. It's the next step. I've been coaching rec for 15 years.
Say that out loud twice.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's a long time. And so, I think she's excited to, see the next step too, right? I'm excited and nervous at the same time.
She's going to be the first lady of the Harford Tech football program.
That's true. Yeah. But no, she's extremely supportive. And now I coach wrestling at Harford Tech as well. I think we both kind of know I'm going to be there regardless. Yeah. And if I have the ability to help out in any way, shape, or form, it's kind of criminal not to, right? If I'm going to be there, I might as well be out there.
I'll tell you something, man. I've said this to you before, but you're a part of a 1%er club that I think it's important to say, and it's crazy where we live in, right? That just talk a little bit about your relationship with your wife as far as the timing, right? You guys met younger, but you are one of the few people, 1%ers, that you meet somebody really young and you're able to evolve your relationship through the test of time, With the divorce statistics, which we all grow up knowing that 50%, whatever, it's probably higher than that now. But just people having their lives and changing and physically moving, jobs, growing up. Part of the challenge of a young relationship is you just grow up, and you might not be at 18 who you're going to be at 25, but you guys made it through that, man. I mean, it's as a longer relationship with my wife too. I can respect the fact that it's not easy. So talk about Amanda a little bit as far as like your relationship and how you were able to make it through the high school years per se to now where you guys are, a beautiful family with 4 kids.
Well, thank you, Joe. Yeah, so I don't like to use the word mistake because I do not think anything is a mistake. Right?
Amen to that.
But we had our first child, was not planned.
Not planned. I use that.
Yeah, not planned.
Bingo. But was it bingo? Wasn't on my bingo chart. Yeah, whatever.
Was not on the schedule, right? But, we were young. I was 21 and my wife was 19 when we had our first child. Mm-hmm. And, being 21 and all my friends are going out, it was, it's an aspect that you don't really think about growing up. But I will say, I think really what laid the foundation for our relationship was as soon as that happened, we were kind of both all in, right? And give a lot of credit to my wife. She was 19 too, right? She's not grown up yet.
Yeah.
So we really made an effort to stay at home, right? Make our nights at home something fun, have date night at home, right? So we'd put our infant to bed and we'd watch a movie and hang out, have a couple drinks and just have a great night, And really, I think over the process of doing that, at that young age, you kind of naturally become best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, that is probably the foundation of our relationship, right?
Friendship.
Being being best friends, you're going to fight with anybody.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I don't care who you're married
Naive
to.
if you think you're not.
Yeah, you're going to fight with anybody, but there's nobody in the world I'd rather fight with than my wife. You know? And we don't fight much. It's just you're going to naturally do that, right?
And when we say fight, we just mean disagreements, arguments.
100%.
The younger generation, they have one disagreement and it's like nuclear button.
Yeah,
you got to work through that.
And you got to adapt. I think that's probably the toughest thing is both sides has to kind of give up certain things to come together, right? And build that team. Yeah, we just, we kept having kids. And then finally we got to our fourth one and she was like, "Do you want a fifth one?" I said, "No." It's hard to say no, but I prefer
logistics are involved at that point.
Yeah. And we started young, so we didn't really have our 20s going out wise. But man, we're having a heck of our late 30s going out. We go on dates again, and it's a lot of fun. We're actually traveling some together. We get out for like a date night weekend where we'll stay an hour or two away for a night or two. And just, I think it's important to keep dating, right? Yeah. Whether it's at home or whether it's out, I think it's important to try for your partner and keep dating. It's really
I think it's huge, and I wanted the audience to know how special that your relationship is with your family and your wife, and everybody can see that. It's awesome, but even though it's going to be like a guy, football conversation today, I do think there's something to that because when you getting through those ups and downs, I used the word resume earlier, but it's like a life resume. But I think it's going to help you be able to attack new challenges when you're coaching a team. And you have children that are growing up, and we'll talk about rec in a second where the boys are growing. Yeah. Then we'll transition to teenagers, which is a whole new ball game, which you already have experience with, but now you're at the high school level. So I do think that matters, and I appreciate you kind of being willing to open up a little bit because there are other situations and family dynamics that exist, and they're not going to be bad coaches if you're divorced. I'm not suggesting that, but I think as a strength to bring that consistency and able to get through adversity. In life, man, life's hard. It'll beat you down sometimes, and when you got someone to bring you back up, it's going to help you attack the next situation. So I do think it does slide into the coaching thing.
Yeah, because when you're out in public or you're in front of other people or in that leadership role, there's not always times where you can truly let how you really feel out. Only you know how you truly feel. And if you just keep that bottled up inside all the time, I don't think that's necessarily good for you. So I think, healthy. Yeah, my wife has seen the real me, and nobody really sees people's real them.
Yeah.
Unless they're behind closed doors.
Great point.
You know what I mean? Like me and you, we've obviously seen more of the real us than most people.
But
I don't know you like Jenny knows you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And nobody knows me like my wife knows me, right? And I think that's the beauty of marriage is to have that, you're out in the real world for, 8 to 10 hours in a day. Yeah. And then you come home and you take the armor off, and you're you. And, for better or worse, like they say, right?
Yeah.
So she's seen parts of me that nobody else would see, right? And I will say I'm a very up and down guy. You will know when I am up, and it's not hard to figure out when I'm down, right? I wear my emotions on my sleeve, whether that's a good thing or not.
It's healthy for you, though, because you don't bottle it up. But
but I keep it under wraps to a point, but then, when I'm home, my wife really sees both ends of it.
Yeah.
So there's times where you leave a football game or a wrestling match, and you can be pretty low, right? Or a low work day and
unhappy.
Yeah, unhappy.
At the very least.
Yeah.
Disappointed.
There's been some times where it's like, man, why am I doing this? And then, my wife is my rock, right? She's like, well, you're doing great. Like, so what? You lost the game or it didn't work. You're not going to win every freaking game, which is something I think you lose track of when you have.
We'll get to that in a minute.
A history of success, we did. But. I think you remember the time that you weren't at that level yet, right? Yeah. It's a building process, and that's part of really the beauty of it, the most exciting years of it. I think that's something you forget about when you hit that level of the adrenaline it was and the challenge it was to get there. You think, oh, I just don't want to lose it. instead of like, well, let's just keep building, right? You're never done building. And that's in life too. You're never done building and improving. So
it doesn't take a lifelong like speaker of big groups to make the connection between recognizing what you did to build a strong marriage, to keep a strong marriage, to put that on the field. That if you do have a winning product on the field, it's because there was things that you were doing to get there, and you can't just stop them. It's not like you get there and go, okay, let's relax, and you know that. So that's an easy transition, which is great. So all right, we just appeased to a lot of the moms and the female audience. We're going to pivot back to the male audience and talk about some GER stuff in a second, but I do appreciate you going down that road. I didn't know how comfortable you would be, but it's important because you're a private guy, and as respect. But I think it's important to share with the audience, and that I do, because you said you're not sure what you wanted to share or what's special, but I do think that's special because, and I made the number up, the 1%er of having that relationship through the your late teenage years, early adulthood to go through, because that's not the norm right now in just the world we live in. I'm not trying to go there, but the culture, the whatever, the stats, they're there to suggest that that's not going to happen. To the point where my teenager who has a 3-year relationship, I said, hey, give 100% of the relationship, but just understand the reality that there's a large chance things could change. And you were an example. He's like, well, I met my wife when I was 19 in college. He was like, Dad, you met somebody young. Coach Brad met somebody young. So I've got 2 people around me that I know it can happen. And I'm like, well, shit. Okay. So got it. And it's in that where I'm like, okay, well, now I'm going to support the relationship because I ain't going to be the guy to make sure I throw my weight around. So
and
it's
I think
good.
That's the key too. Because we definitely had our fair share of, oh, you're just kids, and like wait till you're 25.
External pressure.
Wait till you're 30, or and it's like I just I'm really a big believer in you only get one life.
Yeah.
Right? You only get one. So
YOLO?
Do what you do. Yeah, YOLO. Do what you do and own it, right?
Yeah.
Love it, so don't look back, and it's really nobody else is involved in your relationship other than you and your partner.
When you live your life, don't look back, but we're going to look back on some history or historical things in your coaching past. All right. So let's kind of go into the football part. If you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, so we appeased to some of the female audience members with the amazing marriage and your children, your family coming up. Let's appease to the gridiron fans out there now. So there's some hardware behind us. It was not unintentional. I had to go get them from my little trophy area. So we have 3 trophies here, 2022, 2023, and 2024, champions in the Bel Air Terps program. I came in at the 2022 year, but you were building something. And to those Harford Tech families that want to know what kind of coach you're going to be, this is the part where I want to kind of share that, the coaching hat metaphorically, and then literally as you're wearing an awesome hat there. When I first met you, we had a funny interaction because my kid had a growth spurt, and it was during evals, and you're like, whose kid is that? And I happened to be helping, and I was like, he's mine, and fun experience. And the number one thing I'll say is that was my proof that you were building a roster every year, and that every kid had to have a good eval. They weren't going to get it. And we got accused a lot of, keeping the same team. It's because the kids kept making the team. Mm-hmm. And my son joining a team you'd been building for 3 or 4 years was proof of that. So it was a really cool experience. And I don't know if you remember, but I called you and said, hey, really appreciate the look you're giving my kid, but I want to have a conversation about competing for a spot versus, almost a guaranteed start. Because we were with another coach, and he liked the coaching staff on a B team. You had the A team. And I don't know if you remember that conversation, but I just said, hey, what are your plans? Is he going to come in and compete, which I'm fine for, or is he just going to be another roster spot for, a practice squad, which is an important part of football? And do you remember what you said to me? If you don't, it's okay, but I do.
It was pretty much something along the line of like I wouldn't be looking at him if he didn't have a spot, or a chance to compete, right?
Right.
Like he's going to be a contributor on this football team. At that point, I feel like I had learned some lessons of my own, right? And if you're not learning as you're doing something, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice and the team, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I learned real quick, in rec, it's not about A, B, or C. It's not. It's about getting them ready for this level, right? High school.
Yep.
I've seen plenty of good B and C team kids be great high school football players because they're getting coached properly at the rec level. I learned real fast that you don't want to put a kid in a spot that is not giving him the best chance to succeed. Yeah. He needs to be playing on the field with kids around his level so he can get reps, so he can get confidence, and he can just really enjoy the game of football. You know, if you're not enjoying the best game, in my opinion, that there is in the world, then you're not in the right spot, right? So I'm pretty sure it was similar to what I've said to a couple parents that have asked me the same question, because it's a legitimate question, right? Yeah. You don't want your kid to go to this team to just sit there and watch this team play. So I'm sure it was something along the line of like, hey, Joe, honestly, we're looking at J-Mo because J-Mo can fill this spot or this spot. And, we wouldn't be having this conversation if he wasn't a real contributing factor on the team. But I do remember that because it was so funny. I'm not a tall guy. I'm 5'7.5".
Your image begets your stature.
Well, I do remember walking in warm-ups and there was like 60 kids out there and seeing this kid, the first one that's as tall as me at 11 years old, was like, holy smokes, where did this kid come from? You know? And then, not that size is everything, because it's not. I'm obviously not a big guy myself, but it definitely turned your eye, and man, he really, he earned it. So yeah, it was a great year.
Well, that's definitely 90% of it. But to give you some coaching kudos, you also mentioned that the prior year you were having challenges blocking on the edge with not having two really good tight ends. And you said you were developing an offense where you could attack from either side of the ball, and you wanted to get somebody solid enough who can still catch, but then also block. And I remember thinking, wow, the fact that he's trying to improve from the year prior, and we won't name the organization and give them too much credit because it's about us and the Terps, but it was a respect thing where you knew you had to evolve. And I think that anybody paying attention to this podcast should know that you're still the same guy. Yeah. And you're going to learn from those things. Maybe they're mistakes, but maybe things worked, but they weren't worked the way you wanted them to. And the fact that in the conversation about where should my son fit, we talked about that. And I thought that was fantastic. It rolled right off your tongue. It wasn't like it was we figured out we needed this, so we're looking for that. He might have a chance to come in and compete for that, and that's what we're thinking for him. And I let my son know, we mashed it, and it worked out great. So, and that has a direct translation into your current role, because not everything's going to work. It's not all going to work. And you have this really interesting dynamic too. Like in rec, we say B to A, but in a high school, it's JV to varsity. Yeah, you're going to have kids that can compete above their grade level, and it's the very same translation to that, because there are some kids that are going to be potentially competing for a varsity spot, and parents might have that same apprehension of reps versus the experience and want to talk about that. So have you had any of those conversations yet in your new role?
Not, a little early. Yeah. I would say not so much yet, because we haven't seen the kids in pads. But I'm sure there will be a couple freshmen kind of stick out. High school is so we had 2 freshmen on varsity last year. I was in the stands watching. High school is a different, you're playing with grown men. Yeah. So if you're bringing this 14-year-old pup up to play with 18-year-old D1 commits, D2, D3, these kids are getting ready to go to college, and so you're bringing a kid up that just has a light mustache right now, and you're asking him to hit a man with a full-grown beard. I mean, it's you got to be in the right mindset to want to do that.
It's a steep learning curve.
It is.
They say the speed of the game at every level changes, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's you're talking about 3 or 4 years. I mean, in rec, 1 year is a huge difference.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I look forward to some of those conversations, I'd say, but that's definitely another level. Definitely some more thought involved in that. Like, is this really right for the kid? Can this kid really handle an 18-year-old, being 14 or 15? Yeah. Right? And there is a safety aspect to it. And you really want that kid. You don't want to hurt that kid, right? You don't want to put him up at that level and have him get beat on, only not to grow as he should. Where if he's on JV, he can get some confidence and play kids his own age, maybe a year older, and develop, right? So it's a fine balance, I think. Obviously, what does the team need is a big one first.
Gaps in roster,
and
depth chart.
How is this kid as an individual? Can he do it, right? He might have the talent level, but does he have the mentality to do it?
Oh, huge.
I think mentality is a really probably the biggest part, I mean, you can be an athletic phenom, but if you don't have the right mind.
Yep.
Then yeah.
So question for you. My only experience with high school layering is from mine, which was a long time ago, and there's some gaps in my memory there. And then, my children at C. Milton. Is Tech going to have an eval, kind of like we did at Rec, where everyone's got a clean slate? You got clipboards up. You're trying to see where you got, who you got, where you're going to put them. Is that kind of the basic concept? I don't want you to reveal any secrets, but just for the parents that want to know you, they're watching because they're like, I like to know the coach. Is there anything you can share with us about that general conversation you might have had with your staff?
So, I mean, I am a firm believer of nobody's spot's guaranteed. And I mean, nobody,
huge,
right? It's like life, right? You've got to continue to show that you're the guy. Mm-hmm. You've got to continue to be able to handle that situation. As far as like an eval, I mean, there definitely is an eval for JV and varsity, right? Like we just talked about.
Yep.
But yeah, I've pretty much already had the conversation with the football players that I've talked to of like, hey, if you want to play a position, you're going to get a chance to play that position. If you're the guy, I don't care if you're 140 pounds. If you can block better than anybody else at left tackle, I mean, it's pretty much unheard of. But
good extreme example.
But you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So I really don't care what you are built like. I don't care where you played last year. It is a new year. You will get a chance to play where you play or where you want to play. And we're going to ultimately put you as the coaching staff in the best position for the team. That's what we're supposed to do, right? You're going to get a chance, but you might not be the guy at that position, but you could be the guy at another position, right? So, yeah, I really don't care where they played last year, to be quite honest.
I'm really glad you said that because I was going to bring back a scenario that we shared together in some of our private coaches meetings, which I won't get too into, but where we saw children who had a track record of position A, but we saw something at position B. And we had to do a lot of pivoting our last season, the 2024 season at 14U, to try to fill in some gaps where we needed it against some teams, right? Yeah. I would anticipate you're going to have a little bit of that, but you've got a teenager that has been playing, I'm just going to make it up, safety, for example, and you say, hey, I really see you as a strong linebacker or as a cornerback. It's inevitable that you're going to have one of those types of conversations. I wonder if it'll be a little different with teenagers and all that comes with being a teenager as opposed to 13, 14. What do you think?
I would imagine so, but I mean, everybody wants to succeed, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, quite frankly, in the biggest team sport that, in my opinion, there is in football, if one guy makes a mistake on the field, the whole play's shot.
Or takes a play off.
Or takes a play off. It could be the big play that gives up the touchdown, right? Or could get your running back or quarterback killed, right? I mean, nobody can take a play off. So if you don't have the mindset of I'm willing to do what's best for the team, then quite frankly, I'm probably not your head coach, right? I mean, that's what it takes to get these. That's what it takes to build that team, the true team attitude. So I think it's in the delivery of, hey, listen, I know you used to play safety, right? But you're going to be a great linebacker, and you at linebacker is going to be what's best for this team, right? I'm not going to put you in a position that you're not going to have a good chance to succeed at. So I think it's building that relationship with that student athlete and having him kind of trust you, right, by the right delivery and building that kid up and kind of giving him all the tools he needs to succeed in that position. And I think if you do that, the kid feels kind of special in the fact that, hey, like, coach needs me.
Yeah.
And then once you get the kid believing and the kid has success in it, well, then the kid loves it. And so I think the delivery is probably something that changes.
Sure.
As you get
not
to
a hammer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you are going to do this.
You're telling, not asking.
Yeah,
at the same time.
I think it's, accountability. right?
Oh, I love that word.
Yeah, I think it's accountability. I think it's treating them like a young man because it's going to happen in the workforce too, right? I mean, you're going to have a boss. You're not coachable in the workforce. Well, you might not have that boss for a while, So
now we trained, and you said it out loud multiple times, multiple years, that rec is preparing them for varsity and JV experience in high school, right? That was a very prevalent theme you maintained throughout my coaching tenure with you. Are you now transitioning that to say that you are now preparing them for their collegiate experience or life? Are you going to use that same language? Because I think that there's a place for that.
It's funny that you actually asked that, because that is a question that I did think about, right? Because that is something that I consistently said at the rec level of, we're getting ready for high school. We're now in high school. So what are we getting ready for, right? And, it actually came up in my job interview.
Cool.
For Tech. Yeah. A lot of good applications came in for Tech. And it was a question that was asked to me. And, it kind of took me by surprise at the moment. Maybe 60, 70%, maybe even 80% of these kids are not going to play college football.
That's right.
And they
might never play football again.
Right. Might never play football again. Right. So I think you're doing a little bit of both now. Right. I think the correct answer, in my opinion, at least my answer, is I'm getting you ready. We, as a staff, are getting you ready as an individual for the next step. Whatever that
might be.
Whatever that might be. If you're going to go if you're going to go to college and play football, well, you're still going to have the same core values.
Okay.
My goal as a staff, right, as a coach and staff, our goal is to make you a successful human being, to give you the right mindset, to give you the right attributes, to be able to work with others, to be able to have that drive to be successful, to be able to put the greater goal maybe in front of yourself, right? And be that coachable employee.
What a great language choice.
Yeah. Or to be coachable at college, right? So you're kind of giving them the same core values that they can succeed on either direction. But our goal is to make great young men.
That's great.
To have young men come out. At Harford Tech, it's a little bit of a different situation being a tech school. Some of these kids, when they don't go to college, they're going to go right out in the workforce, and they're going to have to be able to adapt to different situations, work with people that they don't necessarily feel that level of likeness.
Yeah.
But you still got to put that behind, and you got to achieve the common goal. So I think by instilling that team mentality and that never take a playoff mentality, I think you are driving them towards a successful path, whichever path they choose.
Okay, so switch gears a little bit. So in that same mindset, I know that, let's talk about recruitment a little bit. Two ends of it, the front end and the back end. So I remember my experience with you in rec, where you really can't recruit, but you just put a good product on the field, and if somebody calls and asks questions, you give them the right answers, and they feel that their child's coming through, right? They're going to come to that program. Harford Tech's also a school like that, where it might be very similar. But you have recruitment on the front end, maybe from other programs, other sports in the school, and then you have the back end recruitment where you're going to have colleges now. And I think one of the benefits that you have on your resume is having an A product football team in your resume. You got to experience the private schools kind of swarming on your boys to say which one of these can come represent our school. You kind of already got that experience, where I would venture to say most football coaches don't have that experience. That is a resume builder for you. So talk about that for a little second, a little bit, if you don't mind, like the front end recruitment and the back end recruitment that is now a part of your job.
So at Tech, recruitment is an ugly word.
Okay. It's not. Is it legal? It's not legal. Kind of thing?
It's not. No.
Okay.
So
that's my naivety. Then.
Yeah, we can recruit. But it is a school where you have to put in for an application. But as far as like recruitment, I can't be like, hey, come to Tech and guarantee you a spot at Tech, right?
Which you wouldn't do anyway, because nobody has a spot.
No, 100%. But so it is different from the private schools in that, like, you have to want to go to Tech. You put your application in, for your Tech area that you're interested in, and then if you get in, then you're on the football team.
Which is very tough to begin with. I mean, some of the tracks only have 18 to 19 students that they're admitting on a freshman class. So that's a whole new experience itself.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. It's so much different. And can private schools recruit?
Private schools, I mean, I'm not a private school coach, but I mean, from our 14U year, I mean, they were at our games consistently, which was a really neat aspect to coaching boys at that age, is dealing with the private schools and like having them talk to your kids that you've seen grow up at such a young age. And it's exciting for a coach as well. But no, tech is definitely different. It is a tech school first, right? And if you get in for your tech area that you wanted, then you are on the athletic teams. Now, where I can recruit is inside the school. Yeah. Where kids already,
other programs.
Right. They might not be playing football, but I can ask them to play football, right? So I do know when I found out I was the football coach halfway through wrestling season. You better believe the first thing I did was talk to all the wrestlers.
What, guys?
Yeah. Hey, I need some wrestlers on the football team. Then I found out where the basketball players were hiding. So I went right into the basketball area and looked up at all of them and said, hey, I need some football players, And now we're in lacrosse. So, of course, it's lacrosse and baseball, tennis. I got some football players on tennis.
Especially in spring sports where they may not have a fall sport. That's a layup.
Yeah, track. All right, give me some speed. So I think
that's fun.
But any school can do that, right? I mean, SEMO, right? Like, you know, you might have some football players hiding on some other teams that, like, you go, fine. I really don't care what grade you are. I mean, you had a guest on, and I played football with him, Derek Frank. Derek Frank was one of the best athletes I've ever played with. And I was younger than him, so it was neat seeing him out there. But my dad asked him to play football his senior year, he told me about that. And then the dude goes to college.
He was like, what?
Yeah, but he was exciting to watch. So, it was a really a life lesson that I learned there. I really don't care what grade you are. If you want to play football, come on out and let's see how you fit.
That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask one question, and if you're not comfortable, just let me know. It's all good. But one of the very memorable experiences that I had, which wasn't a positive one, was a testament to how I think you coached, which I think was a beautiful thing. We had somebody that didn't have the mentality, but they had the skill set to be on your team. Mm-hmm. You remember who that was? You had to talk to their family, and this child had been with you for a couple years, didn't make it the last 2 seasons on your team. Went to play on another team. He still got to play, but that was a really tough thing for me to witness, because I saw you go through what I was interpreting, and we did talk later, as a really tough time mentally, having to relay to this boy and their family that the mentality wasn't there, but the skill set and physicality were. Do you know what experience I'm talking about?
I do.
How did that change you as a coach? Because I think you had told me that's the first time you had to do that, if my memory serves me. When they were younger, maybe it was different.
It wasn't the first, but that was the hardest.
That was the hardest. Tell me a little bit about that experience and how that changed you or gave you experience as a coach.
Mm-hmm. That's a tough one.
It's a tough situation.
It was a really tough situation. And I have come to learn for myself that honesty is always the right way to go.
Nobody would argue with that.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier said than done. Yeah. Loved the kid, loved the family. And still to this day, root for that kid. When you coach a child at a young age and you come up with that child, and then you win a championship. Well, then, of course, when you win one championship, it's just the way it works. You get a lot of kids
trying out
to come in, right? And it is a very tough thing to do, because you only take so many kids. And if you're truly about the team and what's best for the team, sometimes some of your kids from previous years aren't the best on that roster. And
I could see it in your eyes. When we had that coaches meeting, I could see in your eyes like, holy smokes, I'm going to have to do a really hard thing, but it's better for the team. which, by the way, is why I brought this up, because that's the kind of coach that these kids and their families are getting at Tech.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lost art, being honest, because a lot of coaches do things for different reasons. They feel bad, and we'll talk about Daddy Ball in a second. Don't go there yet. We're getting to that one. But it was such an amazing thing to see, first of all, how you made it a committee decision. We voted, right? And I felt tough voting a certain way because I knew that player skill-wise was top 5 on the whole team. But they just didn't fit the mentality and the culture and the positivity that we were building. It's a tough thing because that young man was a really great kid. He still is.
Yeah, still is. And I've followed him, and he's done great things. I think I know really the answer that you want to save is really probably the best way to do this, right? Every decision I find as a coach, you don't have a coaching staff there just to be yes men, right? If you're doing what you're supposed to do as a head coach, you surround yourself with smart people, maybe even smarter people, right? I'm not the smartest guy. But I do rely heavily on the coaching staff, and a decision like that is voted upon as a staff. And then we proceed as a staff, as a united front. And I think that makes it not easy, but easier. And in a tough situation like that, where you are very emotionally attached to an individual, you really have to stick to the team mentality.
What's best for the team.
For the team. I don't know the words I'm trying to use.
It's tough.
It is
the
tough.
whole point
tough
of it
to
is
talk
tough.
about it now, right?
And this is 3 years ago, right? Because it was 2023.
Yeah. And just be sincere and honest, and just don't hold back any truth, right? And have a real heart to heart, and still root for that kid to this day.
Yeah,
I really do. Yeah, he's a great kid.
And I'll transition because there was 2 moments that really gave me such an elevated level of respect for you as a coach. And this is the Brad show, so it's okay to doodle on you a little bit. That was a big deal. I was like, he had the highest level of integrity I've seen. I've been a part of teams where that wasn't the mentality. It wasn't what's better for the team. Other sports too. And I wasn't going to make a stink about it, but you just see it. It doesn't take a 20-year veteran in coaching. The parents knew what was going on, right? The second thing is regarding your son, who I'm a big fan of. Brock is such an awesome young man. Great children are not by accident. They come from great parenting. So, to you and a man, that's awesome. But the number one example that anybody on the outside, because that was an internal thing, could have seen that you do what's best for the team is about what happened with your son playing quarterback. Yeah. 2022. I have to keep looking because it's Atlanta. It's long ago. We won a championship, and your son was a starting quarterback. And then the new season came. You said we had a lot of new faces trying to be a part of this machine and train you were building. Yeah. And talk about, evals where you saw an opportunity for the team.
Yeah, so that is honestly the toughest thing I had to do, right? So Brock was the quarterback for our first championship.
Championship winning quarterback comes back the next year for evals.
Really top coach, really physical and talented team. Honestly, probably the best team that we had to beat to win one of these 3.
Yeah.
But so we won that championship, and then the next year we had a lot of kids come in, and we had a very talented quarterback that came in. And it was a very close race. It was a fair race. But there came a point, and I give a lot of credit to my son, because we were able to talk about it as father and son, and kind of just said, hey, Brock, like, first off, if you're on our team, you're not just pigeonholed in one.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
He had another role.
So if you are on that team or a team, you should always have multiple areas to fill.
Yeah, we had 18, 19 kids?
Well, I think that year we had 20.
Okay, yeah.
But, it was a very heart-to-heart, like, hey, listen, I preach team first, right? And just because you are my son doesn't mean it's still not team first, right? Yeah. And I think, to his credit, he understood. And he knew, this kid had a little bit of a stronger arm at the time. And it just, he didn't want that, right? He didn't want to be the guy if he wasn't truly the guy. You don't want to be the leader of a team because your dad's the coach. While it was a hard conversation, going forward to where we are now was the right thing to do, right? Because, that year we won again. My son was a starter, played very well that year at a different position.
Yeah, he's a great tackler.
And then that kid that took his spot in quarterback ended up leaving the next year. So then Brock filled back in at quarterback again.
Well, don't jump too far ahead because that kid got hurt.
Oh, that's right.
During that season.
Yeah.
And I don't want to cut you off, but when we made as a staff and then you had that conversation with your son, I specifically was looking for any sort of emotional drop-off from Brock because I was going to be there to lift him back up. Because some things you can't do to your son, someone else has to.
Right.
And I was right there, and I never had to do it. I never saw one time where I said, this is getting to him. Now, I'm sure he had those thoughts because he's a young man, and he's a proud football player. He's a damn good football player. I know he had the thoughts, but he didn't show it. And I was so proud of him. And what that led him to do was still practice like he was competing. And then when our QB1 went down, the championship-winning quarterback came in, and we kept winning.
Yeah.
And that's a head coach's dream where the unfortunate happens to QB1 and QB2 comes in, but you had a championship quarterback, second string.
Well, that is a nice thing to have.
You take your son out of it. I mean, as a head coach, that's a great thing to happen,
yes,
right?
When you have two quarterbacks, it is both a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
You feel bad for the one talented quarterback that's not getting all the reps.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when the QB1 does go down, it's like, okay, well, we got a guy, really good quarterback going in now. So, that was probably the toughest conversation I really had to have because, you love your son.
Oh, my gosh,
But at the same time, you don't want to put your son in a spot to where he might hear it from his teammates or, have that uncomfortable feeling, right? And Brock really took it and had the team mentality and
he did
put 100% into the next position, what she played. And I think, honestly, it was a real big character builder, not only for the team, but for him, right? I think we showed that this staff is not going to do what's best for the dad or the coach.
No.
This staff is going to do what's best for the team. And for him, it really kind of, gave everybody that, it made that, when you play, my dad was my coach, and when you play for your father, you always have that, are you here because your dad's here?
Yeah.
Are you here?
As a player.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing that, unless something like this happens, never really gets answered unless you're very dominant, right? So I think that kind of took that weight off of his shoulders. Nobody can accuse you of not earning your spot. While it was tough to do, I truly think, I've heard a lot of comments about that to this day, how that doesn't.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah, it doesn't typically happen. And that's not a knock on anybody because it is a very tough thing to do. But I truly do believe it's what's best for the team. And honestly, your kid, right? Because he's not going to be you're not going to be there for him when he goes out into the real world, right? Like, you're not going to be his boss 99% of the time. So he's going to have to earn it.
And I think, one of the reasons I brought that up in the context of our conversation is anybody that's watching who was just, they know little tidbits, right? Because unless they're in your staff meetings and then they're following every football game for the last 6-7 years, they don't know everything. But the fact that you have a culture of you have to earn your spot and you put it to proof regarding your son. And your son does play for Harford Tech. And I've watched him. He did some great things. He was able to make varsity his freshman year. He had some struggles, and he did some great things. Like, I saw a couple videos that were amazing. You sent them to me, or I think your wife sent it to every group. Yeah. But it was just so awesome. But, he's still got to earn his spot too. And for anybody that's watching, I want them to know that all of these children, including the kid with Says Your Last Name, has to come to football practice and earn their spot. And you can't say that to every coach these days. You can't. No. And I think it's a coincidence. Wrong word to use. The two events of your son becoming a high school football player and then varsity as a freshman, and you joining the program, they're linked only because of you being around, but they're not intertwined. It's not the same thing. In other words, you're going to be 100% effective as a head coach, whether your child's starting or not. And I think people need to hear that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do have the benefit of coming into Harford Tech with, I'm not the one that named him starting quarterback, right? I was in the stands last year.
Yep.
And I was more than happy to be in the stands. Harford Tech had a history of very successful teams. So going into last year, I was excited about the staff. Like I met the staff. They had a good track record. So I knew my son was going to get the proper training, and really it was going to be neat to kind of sit in the stands and watch as a dad. I really did thoroughly enjoy that.
Oh yeah. Just being a dad is something we don't know about.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. So I wasn't the one that made him the quarterback. The coaches at the time made that. So I think that kind of takes the talk of daddy ball out coming into this. Now, yes, 100%, you will still have to earn that spot, right? My son included. Because you can't build the team attitude if you don't truly enforce it. So
that's huge.
Yeah.
In this day and age, the kids need that, man. It's going to make them better young men when they get into the world. That's huge. All right, let's cover that. So every interview has like these special moments, and people have seen things on TV where we just have to hit certain things, and we've got to talk about them. I'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the fact that there was a reason the head coaching vacancy existed. Had nothing to do with you. But is there anything you want to say about some of the local publicity and articles that were written about your school and your program prior to you being offered the new job?
Yeah, so that is definitely sensitive subject.
Sure.
Like I said previously in this interview, I was a fan of the previous staff. Right, they had success. They did a great job. I know some of those guys. Closer now than I did coming in. I will say this, I'm sure you're talking about the article that came out.
Yep.
Said, new head coach, Harford Tech. Super excited about that article when I saw the headline.
It's cool to see your name, man. You're like, blah, 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 blah. Like, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
And then you hear the context.
Yeah. So then I read the article, and I think it was like 2 paragraphs of me, and then probably about 15 paragraphs of last year.
Yeah. A little mudslinging.
Yeah, not really my favorite article for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're all, at least from my end, being a new coach, trying to move forward.
Yep.
And in my opinion, you have my name in the article, you might want to reach out to me.
So nobody reached out and said, we'd like to feature the change, talk about you, ask you any questions. Was there any even reach out?
No. So I was not interviewed for that article that mentioned me becoming a new head coach.
Okay.
So not really upset, but just wasn't my favorite article because, obviously last year I don't truly know enough to speak on that. I'd like to probably not speak on that out of respect for every party involved.
Sure.
But going forward as a new coach, we are implementing our beliefs, right? I think as well as I do, I preach team. Nobody is bigger than the team. I do not allow any of that behavior on our team. I don't allow any bullying or racism or anything on a team that I am involved with. It is our job to get these boys, young men, ready for the next step of their life, which is the real world. You just can't do any of those.
Those things have no place in the real world.
No place in the real world. And as you become adults, the consequences for those become bigger.
You're not kidding.
So, I'm a firm believer of handling yourself right? Treat others as you want to be treated. Building maybe somebody up that's having a bad practice or had a rough game instead of piling on or making them feel like not part of the team. We need to bring them into the team, right? The better somebody feels about themselves and the better somebody feels about what they're doing or what they're involved in solidifies that team. So I'm a huge history fan, and while, we don't forget, right, we are moving forward. But those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it, right? So I think you take what happened and you learn from it, right? If you're not consistently learning, then you're really not getting better as a human being.
What is the lesson that the football program needed to learn to be able to move on from this past?
I would think the lesson is that you might find something funny. You might feel a certain way about something, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that other individual feels the same way. Again, I think it's treat others how you'd want to be treated.
Sure.
Do you want that? Right? And if you don't want that, then it's probably not the right thing to do.
What an easy litmus test. Would you be okay if it happened to you?
Right.
Yes or no. That's a good starting place. It might not always give you the answer because you never know, but that's a good place to start. Have you addressed the current athletes on the program? Or if not, do you plan to just get that out of the way? Is there a plan for that that's going to be happening, or has it already happened?
So I definitely have addressed the athletes that I've been involved with.
Okay.
It's not football season yet, so I haven't had the whole team there. But yes, that will definitely be touched upon, right? We will have a conversation, a very serious heart-to-heart conversation about my expectations for the seasons coming up. And
that's great to hear.
The program that we're trying to build. And it will be touched on, and it will be used, right? We're not going to harp on it all season because we are a new team, a new coach and staff, and a new vision, right? So we're going to move forward as this team. As I said, those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it, and so it will be touched on, and then we'll proceed forward with the new, I guess, administrative lead.
Yeah.
I guess. Is that the word?
I think part of this, the reason that I reached out to you about this interview is that I want anybody who watches this, hears about it, or knows about it to know that you're bringing a high level of integrity to any program you're with, whether it's your son Mac at the 8U, well now 9U, I guess. Wait a minute, is it 10U?
10U.
Oh my gosh, these kids are growing up. Whether it's these little guys that are bobbleheads that are now a couple years older, or whether it's these high school athletes that are trying to go out into the world or to the collegiate experience, you're bringing a level of integrity that has zero place for that kind of thing, and that's a clean slate, and it'll never happen again. I feel confident that you're going to set the tone, and I wanted the audience to know that you're going to set the tone, that you can't preach what you don't practice.
Yeah.
And if you're going to talk about the team, make decisions about the team, preach about the team, let the community know you're a team, there's no place for that kind of stuff.
No place. Yeah. Because you're really not a team if that's your attitude.
That's not a team mentality from an individual athlete as well.
100%.
Well, let's pivot really easily now into the culture and the excitement and the community that you have been a part of as an alumni that now you have a huge role in. So what do you want to talk about the way your team is going to have this community feeling? A cool experience you told me about. You reached out to one of the band programs and had a fun conversation.
Yeah.
That's a great way to show the community you're not messing around, Brad.
Yeah. No, I think if you're going to play at Harford Tech, it's going to be a show, right? That's the goal, right? I mean, make it a fun Friday night. Friday nights are great.
Friday Night Lights, baby.
Friday Night Lights. And it was exciting last year as a fan just going to the game, right? And so everybody involved with Friday Night Lights is part of the team, technically. I mean, from the administrative system down. You got the band, you got the cheerleaders, everybody working, and then the football team. And I think it's a true team atmosphere with those included. So when I kind of found out that I was the head coach, it took me about 2 or 3 weeks. And then I kind of, I saw this really neat Indiana band.
Oh, yeah, they're wild.
Yeah.
They got the YouTube videos and everything.
Oh, yeah. Really cool, right? So obviously it's high school compared to college, but still it's high school band. Why not, right? Let's make it a show. Well, anyway, the Indiana band played a really awesome sound. I don't want to give it up.
No, don't give it up. Don't give it up. It's going to be cool.
But I'm a super nerd. and I own it, and it really kind of appeased to my interest, I guess, with this band playing. And so I went in, before wrestling practice because I was coaching wrestling, and an assistant coach. And then went into the band room and introduced myself to the band teacher, and we talked. And I said, "Man, I really got this awesome sound. I want you to play, on like defensive stands. Can you play this? Kind of get the crowd going."
Did you show it to him?
And I did. I showed him the clip, and he was excited about it. And so then I guess like 2 weeks went by, and we were in the parking lot, and he stopped, and he's like, "Hey, I got that song written out for you. We're gonna practice it." Man, I was super excited. I'm like, "Man, I'm really excited." He's like, "I'm really excited." We got a football coach that cares about the band. I'm like,
it's a
man.
community. It's a community.
Yeah, it's a team, right? Like, we are all out here. You're coming into Harford Tech to play Harford Tech. I want the band top notch, the cheerleaders top notch. Let's make it an entertainment atmosphere.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
let's make it a great night. Let's have the band pumping.
Yeah.
I remember last year the band had a baton girl, right?
Yeah.
Where do all the tricks and throw it. She was awesome. And she was out there with the band, and it was like something that, I don't think as a football fan, I really, appreciated as much as I should have. And then, like, man, when I was out there in the stands and seeing it, I was like, oh, this is really neat. Like Bel Air.
Yeah.
Bel Air has an awesome marching band.
Yeah,
we went into Bel Air, and they all have the hats, and it's really
presentation is wonderful.
Yeah, and when the band comes out in the field, and as a football player, you get the chills when the drums are beating as the band walks out and you're warming up.
Yes.
It's the whole thing. It trickles into other areas. So, like, if you're gonna do something, let's do it right, But really excited about hearing it, on the
that's
field.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. And I think that's a really, really easy way to see. I mean, I can see your face, man.
Yeah.
You're pretty excited.
I am really excited.
And that culture that you've built. We talked about these trophies, right? Like, let me ask you something, because varsity is totally different than rec football, but you've been building something. When you see these trophies, what does it mean to you as it relates to your new varsity coach experience? What do you take from this that you're going to bring to the field?
Man, that's a great question. The process, I would say, right? The process. Like we said earlier, it's easy to forget, the process it took to get to that level when you're at that level, right? I think you kind of take for granted everything you did as a staff and as a team to get to that, right?
Yeah.
Consistently improving, consistently building that mentality, and more as you do it, more and more people start to buy in. And then eventually it comes to where everybody's bought in. And then you start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I would say going into Harford Tech, it's kind of like that already. We've had multiple coaches meetings.
Yeah.
We've implemented multiple ideas that weren't my ideas. I'm a firm believer of, if you're coaching on this staff, you're not here to be a yes man. You're here to give me ideas. You're here to give the team ideas.
Yeah. And
then we're going to take the best idea and move forward as one. Right? So I don't care if it's the running back coach that has the best idea about the offense, or necessarily the team. Right? That idea will be the one that we go with. I don't care who comes up with it. Like, we are a unit. And I think that is probably the biggest thing I learned from these years here, is we had a heck of a staff. And
it wasn't by accident.
No, it takes time to build that staff, right? And you got to trust in the staff to have great ideas. And when they do, let everybody know it was their idea, I find. Giving credit where credit's due, right? It's not about who comes up with it. It's about, us getting the idea. And so I have no issue saying, like, hey, Joe came up with this really good idea. This is what we're going to do going forward. I think it's my favorite, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. I would imagine your coaches will be better coaches to the team, because that's the theme we have, if they know when they get in a room on X's and O's that their ideas count.
Yeah.
If they thought it was a top-down leadership only, they wouldn't bring those ideas up. I got a cool idea. They're not going to like it anyway. Like, I think you're going to be better because your coaching staff believes that if they bring a good idea to the table and can back it up, that it's going to be implemented, that's going to make you guys even better. And I saw that together with you to get these things.
Yeah, and that's honestly the attitude I believe, any head coach should have, right? Like if you don't have guys around you that you trust and that are smart, well then do you really have the right staff? So we're fortunate enough at Harford Tech right now that, a lot of these guys I have had some kind of relationship with coming up coaching. Two
great.
of our coaches now are actually a part of this, which
so
is really
excited.
You build that trust and that bond with those guys. And then a couple of the coaches were also involved in the Terps level and coached at high school, and they're with us. And we got a lot of college kids that are that have gone and played football at college that are going to be coaching positional spots.
So you have a mix of age, you have a mix of experience, and you have a mix of familiar faces and unfamiliar faces.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great place to start.
Right. And that is probably, when I became the head coach, I had about 10 minutes to really
You said 10 minutes?
10 minutes to really enjoy it. And then,
get to work.
And then it was like, we got to get to work and building that staff and putting it together. Obviously it's going to keep changing. You know what I mean? Like as people grow and get other opportunities,
Sure.
And that's the goal, right? You want to be, as stupid as this sounds, at I guess the high school level, you want to be the Nick Saban, right? You want to be the guy that has head coaches all over the place that were originated from this staff.
Yep.
That's the goal, is to make everybody around you better, and give them the chance to do what they want to do.
Yeah, that's great.
Everybody should build everybody up.
I want to ask you one question, and then I want to kind of wrap this up for you because I know you got all this family we talked about to go do.
Got lacrosse games a day.
We didn't go too far into your nerddom because I don't want to taint your amazing image you're building here, but I want to hold that on my shoulder for one day. Yeah. But you did mention you're a nerd, so in that spirit, every guest that comes on my show, I ask them the same question, and it's really fun to see the answers kind of work themselves out. We're talking about superheroes, and I think that the young men, obviously, communities, family members, your children, they know what a real life superhero looks like. Some of them wear uniforms, some of them don't. But have you discovered, or are you still in your origin story? You know what that means as a fellow nerd. Mm-hmm. Have you discovered your superpower yet? Have you said, "Wow, this is what God gave me, and this thing here is something"? Have you discovered that yet?
Man. That is it.
So if you're still in your origin story, that's okay. But if you found it, I'd love to hear about it.
I think I know at this point what makes me a little different.
Okay.
And kind of we've touched on it a little bit already in the interview. I would say it's kind of two things that kind of intermix. I am a very emotional guy. I am a very upbeat. When it's time to be upbeat kind of guy, I really do put everything I have into something that I'm doing.
I can vouch for that.
So I would say my superpower would be the ability to build individuals up and want somebody to generally succeed. And I think that's an art that is kind of really lost in today's world.
Yeah.
Like everybody needs credit. Everybody needs to be the guy.
Yeah.
Or
him is the new thing, right? Him.
Yeah. And, not everybody wants to see you necessarily succeed. I think as I've gotten older, I've seen that more. In my opinion, a team and a family, should always want to see the guy next to him or the girl next to him do great things.
Yeah.
And get what they want in life, right? Because if you're constantly wishing somebody doesn't do good or holding somebody back from doing good or not allowing somebody to grow, is that person really close to you? Is that person a true friend? Does that person have your best interest at heart?
Good point.
And I think it's easier said than done,
Oh, yeah.
Like I do pride myself in wanting you to succeed and building you up mentally, on the football field to succeed or in life to succeed. And when you do succeed, being generally happy for you, right? Because ultimately you are who you surround yourself with. And if you don't want the crew that you surround yourself with to consistently grow,
what are you doing then?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? Are you in the right group? You know, if you're doing better in your life, well, then that means I'm going to do better in my life, you know? And if I do better in my life, why would I not want you to do better? Right? If you have that attitude of having everybody around you wanting to succeed and being there for them to succeed, then are they really your friends? You know, do you really... I don't know, I guess. That would make
There's a phrase that says a rising tide raises all ships. So your superpower could be summed up to say you are the rising tide.
Well,
that's kind of cool.
That's pretty cool.
I got chills.
I like that actually.
I got chills.
Yeah.
So you like to be the rising tide and you're proud of being the person that's going to raise everybody up. And I think that is a lost art, my friend. You said nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's a lost art. And I think the primary beneficiaries of that superpower are any young man that's around you for an extended duration of time. And I'm super proud that Harford Tech gets to see the next level that you're going to bring them, man. I am super excited because I know what's coming. I've read the manuscript to that movie, that superhero movie.
Yeah.
And I've read it, and I know what's coming in the later chapters for Harford Tech. And I'm excited. I'm partially jealous. And I'm a little nervous because my kids aren't wearing the same colors as your kid's going to wear. But I can't wait to see you on the sideline and just see you be the best version of you, man. Because it's gonna spread like wildfire, you know. And I'm super pumped about that, dude.
Well, I hope so, you know. And I'm super grateful to the principal, Miss Mock, for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, that's cool.
And the administration, AD, and just for believing in me. And it's going to be a process, right? Because
we talked about that.
There's some really good teams, right?
Yeah.
There's some really good, well-coached teams in the league. I've seen them last year, so it's definitely going to be exciting. It's going to be a learning process, but I'm excited to be able to work with some of the staffs around the league and, learn along the way, right? And excited to go to battle, that's,
a healthy, good battle, man.
And I think the thing that's really cool about high school is it's kind of like college, you get a cycle of kids coming in. Mm-hmm. So you have good years and you have bad years, and like looking not necessarily this year, but down the line, like seeing the bigger picture, which is, something that's big in life too, right? Is seeing the bigger picture. Like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Getting ready for next year, maybe. Like this freshman that maybe you pull up on varsity might not be the hammer right now, but we're getting him ready to be the player. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if he can handle it this age or a sophomore, if he can handle it, then, when he's in his upperclassman years, he'll be the guy, and I think it's a really neat variable that,
variable.
That like, it's exciting, but yeah, it's a tough league, man, and there's some games I'm excited about, and some games that might not be as excited about. Yeah,
but I know you're going to learn from anything.
We're going to learn.
Win or lose.
Go at it.
Yeah, you're going to go to war, and you're going to go see what happened. You're going to get better.
The goal is win or lose. You don't want to play us again.
Yeah, that's huge. That's awesome. Well, I know what Harford Tech is getting. I know that's going to be amazing. Definitely thank you to anybody that gave you a shot. I will tell Harford Tech that you guys don't even know how good this choice was. I am 100% biased when I say that, but to have a child at another school and be pumped and excited about what you guys just got, it makes me kind of excited. I remember we were watching film with 11-year-olds and you saying, I'm getting you ready for high school, and the kids are like, I can't even find myself, and the kids had homework to find themselves on the film. I knew that you were built different, and I'm so proud of you, man, on what you've done. You have an amazing family. Your kids are awesome. Your relationship is something to strive for, and you get to bring all of that, your experience, your resume to Harford Tech. And, oh, man, I wish you were wearing Carolina blue, brother, but I'm proud of you for wearing black and gold. It's the only black and gold I'm going to like because I hate the Steelers.
Yeah, same.
But I'm going to love the black and gold. and I can't wait to see you just take it to the next level, brother. Last question for you. Put you on the spot. You got lights on you.
All right.
Your son graduates in 3 years.
Yeah.
Is Brad Dreyer going to be the head coach, all those things considered, when his son cycles out?
Well, that's the plan.
Awesome.
I do have another son coming through. He's only 10.
And he's no slouch either.
He's doing all right.
He's doing really good. Don't be modest. His younger son's a hammer.
But no, I mean, as long as this school had me, I would love to, really, truly build something here and enjoy the heck out of it, man. Right? Because you only live once. And I will say, I already walked on the field one time, and man, looking up in the stands and picturing it being, I got the chills.
I'm getting them now, man.
Yeah,
I can see it.
I don't think that's a feeling that I will really lose. I think it's it's neat being on the field at rec, and man, going under those lights in the high school stadium. And I'm a little biased. Of course, Harford Tech got this stadium the year after I graduated.
I remember talking about that.
Right? And then, but man, that stadium, I mean, just the atmosphere, right? You come to Harford Tech, you go down the hill.
It's like a little bowl.
Surrounded by the trees. And
geography is in your favor.
Oh, it's gorgeous. And I think it's to me, there's some other good ones, but to me, being biased, I think it's the best atmosphere. Sea Milton's got another good one too, where you go through the woods. I like the atmosphere as well. I think those secluded atmospheres is just like
you're transcending physically as you walk into something different.
It's a little nerve-wracking and excited, So I'm really excited. I would love to be here as long as they'll have me, to be honest with you, until the wife says it's time to wrap it up.
Anything you want to say to the tech community, the Cobra community, before I let you go?
No, I mean, just really excited to get going. Really excited for the opportunity. Thank you, and hopefully we deliver.
Man, I'm excited for you too, brother. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you
for every guest that comes on my podcast. I say that you are now connected to the Webb with 2 B's.
All right.
Well, you were already connected,
That's true.
And I really appreciate our friendship is evolving as our coaching did, and then to watch you. I was a part of that rising tide, and now I'm the defensive coordinator for a team that my younger son goes through. So, and I'll try to get you one of my kids. We missed on the first one, but I'll get you. We'll see. Listen, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is special to me personally and in the community to have Brad sit here with his time. And I hope you guys learned some things about who you've got incoming, some things to look forward to in the future. And I can't wait to hear that band song. I might just come to your games just so I can hear that band song. So I know what it is. You guys are going to love it. So thank you, guys. Harford County, Maryland, the whole community. Appreciate you. You're now connected to the Webb. Thank you. For those of you watching from the World Wide Web of Lending, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Subscribe if you like it, because I'm going to have more where his come from. So I've got 2 Harford Tech guys here. I got to get a C. Milton guy here. Go Stangs. Sorry. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We appreciate you.